And boop. We are good to go. Episode 13, ladies and gentlemen, starts now.
Whoop.
Here we are.
Yay.
Luke. Thank you. Thank you. That's essential at this point. We need
Okay.
this.
I'll make sure I keep doing it.
Yep. Yep. Tis tradition now.
Oh, that's so funny.
All right. Cool. Well, without further ado, I suppose we can do a brief recap and then get this show on the road. So, where we last left is that a lot of you had gone and done some investigating on the cutters. And this investigation led you to an abandoned warehouse where apparently all the leaders of the cutters were being held captive by a mind flayer who then decided to transport you all somewhere #not here. And
like you do.
and then you all went and you killed a bunch of things.
Yeah, we did.
And,
yeah, we did.
Including the mind flayer and his big crystal thing.
Not
And that's right. Bob did not die.
Zach survived. No dwarf yet.
Don't worry. As we will discuss later, I think that we are reaching the season's conclusion. So dwarf comes soon. But
So ready.
I haven't noticed. And then you all returned, and then the cutter leaders were free from whatever sort of mental imprisonment that they were in. You guys went back to your respective dwellings, and Azaki had a moment with Nightmare's sword, and that is where we are now. So if you guys haven't already, put in that you got a long rest, so restore all of your hit points, spell slots, all that jazz.
That's good.
Oh yeah, that means I
ready for that.
Yes. So, while we're sort of in the introductory stage here, make sure that all of your character sheet stuff is good to go.
Marsh bear.
Yeah. So, with that being said, with all of that recapped, it is time for goals. Who has goals ready?
I'm ready.
Oh, you look at that. Nightmare's ready. All right.
I'm actually ready.
All right, so I have, as of right now, learn to trust someone, and your surprise goal, and 1 open slot. What would you like?
Let's just go with find one of my siblings. Why not?
Find one of my siblings, cause why not? But seriously though, I would like to know why Nightmare would like to find one of his siblings.
I wonder if I can like Megazord transform with one of them. And yeah, that's why.
That is Nightmare's motivation, is that he wants to see if he can.
Look, the bigger and better he
Two
gets,
swords.
the bigger and better he gets, the better he is at bringing balance, obviously.
That's right. The most balancing thing is that they all become one and kill everything. There we go.
Spoiler alert, Nightmare and his siblings are Armageddon incarnate.
Yay.
All right, well, that's a thing that could happen, or could not happen, I suppose. All right. Cool. Let's see here. Frost, right now I have your goals as protect Druk until he has become independent, your surprise goal, and 1 open slot.
I want to do one easy one that I can get done this session, and that's to have some kind of training session with Drew.
Okay.
And like try to mentor him in some way. Because we're back in town, I may as well try.
Yeah, that's very doable.
Cool. And I'll keep all the rest of them.
Okay. Bob, right now, I have work on the next lead and 2 open slots.
Yeah, so I think in the fact that we're getting kind of lived to come out of this, now that he's adventured with her once and seen the fact that she can at least stand on her own 2 feet, Bob
Yeah, I
doesn't
can't.
necessarily. Oh, am I good? Can you guys?
Yes, you're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're good.
Bob doesn't necessarily like her still, but he feels like he needs to at least present a bit of a peace offering. Because if they're going to be in the same town for an extended period of time, there probably shouldn't be bad blood between the two strongest magic users here.
That's reasonable. That's
At least
reasonable.
until the extra dimensional entity that's trying to burn the town down isn't involved.
So I guess to put the goal succinctly, it would be something along the lines of make sure that you and Azaki are on good terms.
On good terms, not bad terms.
They have an understanding.
Just not bad.
We want to make sure that we're both aware of the fact that we may not necessarily like each other, but we can work together. Because if we have to be in the same place at the same time, that means shit's going down. So, yeah.
I think that makes perfect sense.
And then, I think Bob's looking to expand his corporate empire.
Oh.
Okay. His
Might be-
corporate meaning the inn?
Yep. We're doing pretty well for ourselves. I think it might be time for location numeral dos.
Okay, okay.
Hey, I know a good location.
Well, I have ideas, and the ideas I have are I want it to be something very similar to what we already have, which is these kind of safe way stations at the ends of the where the catacombs come out, where customers and guides and muscle all can kind of meet. Bob feels like there's not very much understanding of what goes on in the catacombs. Like, the LR tries, but they're not wizards.
Sure.
They don't
Yeah.
understand these things. So the more places he has keeping an eye on people coming in and out of the catacombs, the better hand he has on the pulse of what could be going on down there, and can keep a better eye on what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And make more money, which lets him do more research, which
Yeah.
is always good.
Yeah. Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. Okay.
So,
And keeping work on the next lead?
yeah, I think that's a good one to have, because story.
I agree. All right. Last but not least, Fluffy. I have your surprise goal and 2 open slots. What do you want to do?
That's a great question.
You've literally had the past 5
I
minutes
know.
to think
I've
about
been thinking about it. I've just been having trouble coming up with it. So, we just dealt with the Cutters?
Yes, that is correct.
Who's the other family?
There are 2 more. There are the Sentenzios and the Gorokai. You can
Okay.
see up there on the map if you scroll.
Ah. Cool. So I would like
Maps.
to just try and figure out more of what Motorok is doing with the Sentenzios and the Garokai. Like, just try and see if there's any other patterns, I guess, going on with them. Does that make sense?
I think I see what you're getting at, but in order to kind of get a sense of whether or not it's complete, I'd like to put this in a little more of a concrete term.
Okay, well, give me a concrete term and I'll tell you if I agree.
Okay. So I suppose, if you're trying to sort of get more of a sense of what matters, if you want to go big, long term, I guess you could say, find out exactly what Motorok is doing in both of the remaining families. Or you could pick one or the other.
Oh, let's go for the bigger one. Figure out what he's doing in both remaining families.
Okay.
And then my other one is going to be, I feel like I should do something with Fabricio over there, where she's gone. I just can't think of something good. Actually-
you could do something along the lines of asking her some questions about magic and such, since, I mean, aside
Actually-
from Dion, she's probably the most powerful magic person.
Well, and Fluffy was left with a lot of questions about what's going on exactly up in the north after he left Dion.
Okay.
So I want to see if she has any more information on that.
Okay. Olivia, I will help you.
Yep, I'm like panicking. I was literally just getting ready to chat you like, David, I have no idea.
Yep. No, this is perfectly understandable. I think that this could go well. Yeah, just I'll sort
We'll roll
of be the
with it.
intermediary.
Yep,
Do I know that?
yep. We'll roll with it. You're just the voice in the back of Mizaki's head. Like, do I know this? I don't know. Let's find out.
Yo, it comes out.
So you can clean it.
Derek, with no context whatsoever, you realize how weird that sounds to everybody else?
No. But you know what? I already said it, so...
Every single thing he said. He'll supply the spike.
It's a pizza
Conversation
cutter.
with the sword.
That's the reference. It's a pizza cutter.
Pizza time.
But they had no way of knowing that.
Nope, but now they do.
Okay, alright.
That doesn't make.
Alright. Cool. Well, I think that is all of our goals ironed out, so I think that we will start in the morning with, I think we'll get a nice scene in the inn with everybody sort of getting up in the morning and getting their morning routine going, and I think that we will sort of start with, I think we'll start with Frost, if you'd like, coming down and seeing Drook sitting at one of the tables eating breakfast that one of the new hires, or possibly even Tim, has made him. And yeah.
Cool. So yeah, she's gonna come down the stairs and see Drake, and she's gonna be like, "Oh hey, how's it going? I haven't got to catch up with you after our little trip. Things going well?"
Oh. Hello, family member Frost. He says with a mouthful of food as he continues chewing.
Right. She'll be like, "Oh, take your time."
Yes. I have been doing well. Some of the spectral individual here has been asking me to help him with tasks around the inn. I have been assisting him with some things. I have been assisting with the cleaning of the restrooms. However, I have not been going with my face into the toilet this time.
Oh, well, that is
The
progress.
ghost
isn't
is
it?
still a dick, but
Can we
less.
please canon that Drake is the new hire?
Maybe.
If you want to, go for it. Yeah, I think that's totally reasonable.
Yeah. Maybe like while we were gone, he got it as a.
Tim hired him, actually.
Yeah, no, I think that's totally reasonable. I think that he was just kind of hanging out in the inn without having that much to do, and Tim just saw him like, "Hey, you!"
We could
Make
use
yourself
another
useful.
underpaid worker.
Wait, we pay our workers? Shit.
There goes that capital.
Fuck. It's gonna change my balance sheets completely.
Crisis. Yeah, he just says,
And I have been learning how to make drinks. I learned that apparently on the rocks does not mean that they want it delivered on a platter of stones.
And she's gonna laugh and be like, "Well, hey, I mean, glad to hear you've been getting a good occupation going outside of, bashing skulls and whatnot."
Yes, though I am starting to miss being able to actually work in this way. It is what I am used to. This, not so much.
Right, yeah. Well, at least this is more steady and safe while I'm not around. And I mean, I trust you to hold your own, but, sometimes you need somebody to watch over you. And that's with everybody. It's not you just in particular.
Yes.
Well, speaking of which,
in the Gorokai, we always had someone watching over us.
Well, hey, glad to hear you're fairly familiar
not
with
only
that
the cult
concept.
leaders, but also the ancient ones that guided us.
Huh. You'll have to tell me more about that at some point.
Yes, there are many traditions that we made use of in the Gorokai. Many things, many ways that we had to contact them and learn their bidding, and grow our power through them. Yes.
And she's
But
gonna
now
like
I am part
kind
of the family, and I do not talk to them anymore.
Oh, so you used to be in contact with these deities?
Well, yes, all of the Gorokai are. It was essential, especially for those of us who were Shadow Templars.
Well, I guess that's fair. Do you remember the name of it?
And he says, let's see here. The one that I was able to contact the most was,
And she's gonna like. At this point, she was like kind of taking a note or like pulled out a notepad to like write it down. But she's just gonna like look up from the notepad and be like, you know what? I think I'll be able to remember it better. And she's just gonna put the notepad back.
Just not. Yes. Very distinctive name.
And right now I'm writing down Serves deity sound with name that sounds like gargle.
Sounds like gargling rocks. Yeah.
Yep. Cool. So I will probably face that as a goal at some point.
There you go.
Yeah. So yeah, she's gonna be like, well, that's quite interesting. We'll definitely have to look into that more later, and I'd like to actually learn more about that. But as of now, I was gonna see if at some point today you would like to brush up on any combat skills or anything. You know, with me being gone for a bit, I don't know how much you really got in the way of practice, but I feel
yes.
you know some training is in order.
Yes. I would like to train. Though we have had some instances where I have been able to assist you all in fighting out in the open. My training has been in the art of sneaking and being able to attack from the shadows. I would like to practice this.
Oh, well, hey, I'm sure we can work on that. I think it might work better at night, and I'll notify some of the guards what's going on so they don't think we're, you know, trying to pull anything stupid. But yeah, I think this would work better at night, wouldn't it?
Yes, though I have abilities that can make it night in a small area.
Portable night.
Oh, that's right. You did have the bubble, and I'm not gonna lie. I forgot you existed in that thing, in that jewel shop fight we had.
I existed, but I exist, and my existence is only felt through stabbing.
Kind of like Schrodinger's cat, but with knives. Huh.
Schrodinger, who? Is this a family member?
Doesn't exist in this world, but okay.
Is that one of the family members I should know about, or is it a deity?
Yeah, probably more of a deity, but we'll get into that later. Yeah. So.
Wow.
What? Okay.
Wow.
So yeah, she's gonna be like, well, I mean, we don't want to just straight up use the make it night thing in the middle of the town if we're gonna be trying to practice sneaking. But maybe we should just meet tonight. I'll let the guards know what's going on out, and we'll try some stuff out in the alley.
Yes.
With
very good.
sneaking. Alrighty, well, take care. I'm gonna go see what the rest of the group is up to.
Yes, indeed. I shall take care of. Tim, what must I take care of next?
The barn needs scrubbing.
And I think that with that we'll get a little bit of a wipe over to Azaki, actually, as you're sort of resting in your shop. And I think that most likely you sleep in a little bit because this is probably the first time that you've had to deal with this much rigorous physical combat in quite some time. And interplanar travel does things to one's body, so... You just sort of have like a separate room in your shop that you have set up for sleeping.
Yeah. It's not very big.
Yeah, not too terribly big. But yeah, so you sort of
Cozy is the word.
yeah, so it's just sort of the nice little bit of sun peeking through in through one of the windows, and you hear a very brisk knock on your door, a series of 3 knocks.
And I think she just kind of like, she shoots up and glances at the door and is like, I wasn't expecting anybody. And like, she kind of like braces herself, and then like, her composure is relaxed, but in her head, she's like running through all the different possibilities. She's running through what she should do. She kind of like analyzing her room, like, okay, if I need to use anything, what can I use? And then
Right.
she just opens the door.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess one thing I'm wondering is, do you leave the shop sign, quote unquote, sort of on all evening, or do you sort of use the magical
No.
properties of it to take it down?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's
okay.
why she's even more kind of like, who in the actual heck is knocking? Like, I'm closed.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah. So I think that when the shop's not open, it's just sort of a very nondescript little building that's just sort of set into the corner of one of the streets, and you are greeted when opening the door by a fairly tall, slim individual wearing a very formal, sort of a light forest green cloak, and that's very nicely fit and very properly trimmed. And this individual has a single lens that's propped into his eye, and hair that's sort of slicked back and starting to fade just a little bit with age, and a very thin face. And he looks up and says, hello, ma'am. I am Officer Kran of the Sentenzio organization. How are you this morning?
I'm well. How are you?
Quite good, quite good. I am here to inform you of the recent change of ownership in your property.
I'm sorry. Like, so she went from like mostly pleasant to like, excuse me.
Yeah, and he says, yes. And he sort of unrolls a neatly rolled scroll in his hand, and he says, as of the 54th day of fire, the 10th year of the bear, all territory which is in between 14th and 22nd Street, and in between Commercio Road and Pigmuck Avenue, has hereby been granted to the Sentenzio organization from the Alrod organization for the price of 5,000 platinum pieces. Your building here falls within that jurisdiction.
From the outlets?
Yes, that is correct. For reference, for anybody curious, that is going to be right about like this whole section. If you look up towards the like map section here.
They bought that from us?
Somebody's high.
And if you sort of like peek your head out the door, you notice that these individuals in these green coats are knocking on doors of neighboring buildings as well and talking to people. And the majority of people are not incredibly happy about this recent change in ownership.
So I think she's just going to kind of not like, so in her head she's like bristling like no, like this is not going to happen, but instead to the guy, I think she's actually going to try to not necessarily persuade him not to do what he's doing, but to temporarily stop like talking to people and getting this through, because in her head she's like, I need to go talk to the Allard about this.
Okay.
So I think she's going to use, I have like hypnotic gaze. So I forgot, do I roll for that?
Would you mind putting the text of it in the chat?
Yeah.
Jedi mind trick, huh?
Let's see here. Choose has to make a wisdom save against your save DC. Okay. So
Okay, cool.
your save DC is 20, correct?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. I'll just make a roll here. Oh!
Ooh.
Just
barely.
under. Yeah, I mean, he would have had to crit to pass.
Uh-huh.
But,
Right.
yeah, just sort of
All right,
gets this,
so-
very, very, like, very pleasant look on his face. He relaxes a bit and is just sort of still looking in your general direction, a little bit hazed.
I think she's just going to kind of smile and be like, that's so much better. Now, if you wouldn't mind, I would like you to go talk to your other officers and please inform them that they will be waiting until they inform the rest of this block or removing people until I return or get some information. Okay?
Just says, no, ma'am, we aren't removing people. We are simply telling them that ownership has changed. We are just simply here to tell you that we're going to be charging you more rent.
Yes, and that's a problem. So, if you wouldn't mind going back to, I forgot, what group is this?
Sentenzios.
Yep.
If you wouldn't mind just running along to the Sentenzios until I can get this figured out with the Allard, that would be wonderful.
That sounds like a lovely idea. I should go do this.
Great.
I shall.
Thank you. Or maybe go to breakfast or coffee or enjoy yourself for the day.
Oh, breakfast.
Yes, very good breakfast.
It just
And
sort
with
of
that, I
wanders
think-
off into the general direction. Like there's a food cart down the street. It's just like, ooh, that smells quite scrumptious. Oh.
And I think she closes the door, like her door to her shop behind her, and she immediately sweeps off to the Allard's office to kind of figure out what's going on. Because she's kind of like, she would have thought that she would have been like at least somewhat informed or like would have at least heard something before this moment. So
Now,
she was just kind of like,
you want to go to the Allard's office or the inn?
well, I guess the inn would be the faster way to go to the office, right?
Because, let's see here, I'll put a little dot. If I recall correctly, your place was right about here. That little
Yeah.
purple dot. So,
Yeah.
whereas headquarters, I'll put another little dot, would be like right here-ish. Maybe a little
Regardless,
I can't see that.
maybe a little bit more south.
when you close
Oh,
the
okay,
door,
I got you.
when you close the door to walk away from your place, a weight settles on your shoulder that coos when it lands. Sounds like almost like a cat, like purring. And if you look, it's Snookums, and she's holding a an envelope in between her legs, and she's looking at you.
Oh, hi, Snookums. And she just like takes the letter from him. Thank you. And then she opens it, and it reads.
So what the letter says is, see, you, from looking at his notes before you recognize Bob's hand, or at least somebody that writes very much like him, and it just reads, two practitioners such as ourselves cannot get off on bad blood such as we did. I may have been a bit crass.
In her head,
The
well, that's
pleasure.
saying something.
If you do me the pleasure of dropping by the inn for a drink or two, we talk this over before one or the other of us causes a mistake that levels half the city.
She actually like kind of chuckles when she reads that line.
Like, you can feel the sarcasm in the last part of it,
Uh-huh.
but yeah, it's just says that. And, like,
Okay.
Snookums looks
Cool.
at you and tilts her head to the side.
Yes, I'm actually going that way now, Snookum. So if you're running ahead of me, and I don't know if you two can actually communicate.
She proceeds to crawl into the hood of your cloak and curl up, and you think she's sleeping.
What?
You're being used by it as a taxi by the tiny dragon.
And she's totally okay with that. So yeah, then she's gonna go ahead and go to the inn first, and I guess she'll stop by to talk to Bob before she goes to see the Allard, because she might be able to get some information from him before she goes talks to him.
Yeah,
to the Allard.
and as you start heading north, you towards the inn, you definitely notice a distinct, like, there are a decent number of people moving westward, not looking happy.
And that really upsets her. Like, she enjoys peace and, like, just general, like, well-being of the people. So it definitely bothers her.
Well, this is a big deal too, because like before this, the Centenzios hadn't gone across the Comercio Road at all. This is
Yeah,
very
something's like,
similar
she's
to
like,
them.
something's up.
Yeah, like this would be like them getting a foothold on the other side of a big river.
Yeah.
Like in gang terms, this is a big freaking deal.
Yep.
Yeah.
So-
So she's like, what in the flippin' heck went down? What did I miss? Why are we doing this? Like, especially with their whole encounter with the Cutters, like, she's like, okay, like, something big's at play. I want to make sure that this is actually, like, the Allard thinking straight. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, so I think she's out by, I think, so she approaches the door, and she goes into the inn, and she looks around to see if Bob is, like, in the tavern itself, or if he's in his office. Where would you be, Zach?
You probably don't see Bob up front, but you do see his hat and cloak hanging on the stand right by the front, so it's a safe assumption he's in the back. And I think Snookums probably like pokes her head up from your cloak as you arrive and like kind of flaps lazily back towards the back.
And I think that Azaki follows Snookums to, well, just follow Snookums, because she's probably going to you. And when she ever gets to the back, she just kind of lightly wraps her finger against the door just to kind of, get your attention, not to spook you.
Yeah, you can see Bob is like, he's writing some stuff in a book, and if you look quickly, like you could recognize some of what he's writing, but it looks to be in code, which is fairly normal for wizards. I mean, he looks back. Ah, good, she found you.
Yes, she
Can I
did.
help you? Other than what the letter has, of course.
I was gonna say, actually, I do have a concern. There was an officer from the Centenzio clan this morning that stopped by and said that a large portion from the Allards had been allotted to them, and I was wondering if you had any idea what that was all about, especially in light of what has just recently happened with the Cutters.
Bob like leans back in his chair. That is very interesting.
That's what I thought. I was actually on my way to go speak to the Allard himself until Schnookum sent me your letter, and I figured I might as well talk to you, see if you knew anything since you've been here longer, and maybe there was a deal that I had missed.
No deal has reached my ears, and honestly, our discussion can wait till after, because I'm pretty sure we both know how it ends.
I agree.
Would you mind if I accompany you to see the Allard about this? I'm very interested. It puts the Centenzio territory very near where my inn is, and...
It puts the Centendios right on top of my shop, so you're not too far off.
Indeed.
But of course, you're more than welcome to join me. It might be nice to have someone who's had a little bit more experiences with Allard himself than me.
And Bob like kind of smirks. He goes, "Yes, and it's far more terrifying to have two wizards standing in front of you that are slightly angrier than just one."
I completely agree, and I feel like we will get a lot more done between the two of us.
And so I think Bob like kind of stands up, kind of works the wrinkles out, grabs one of his extra hats off of the rack inside of his office, and just goes, "Tim, stepping out for a moment. You've got the place." And then closes the door, opens it again, and like waves you through first.
And Azaki just walks through confidently.
Okay, so you're going through the wardrobe door, I'm assuming?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Where else would we go? Unless there's another mystical door I don't know about yet.
Not as of yet. But, yeah, and you hop through into Shiv's office, which you notice is empty and fairly disheveled by his standards. With papers scattered all over the place, and the first thing that you notice is that it's quite loud in the offices. From two sources, you can hear what sounds like the murmured roar of a not happy crowd of people coming from downstairs towards the front desk.
Yeah.
And you also hear, a bit louder, more overbearing, and above all terrifying, the sounds of the booming voice of a pissed off 8-foot orc, namely Boulder.
I think as they step through, Bob like narrows his eye, makes eye contact, and then casts mage armor like fairly obviously.
Yeah. And I think as you glance at Azaki, like she's already doing the same thing. Like she's like,
Yeah. And like adjusts his robes. You can see a couple wands. Like he's obviously being more like puffing himself up, kind of like on purpose, because the Alart's already going to be off balance. Because if Boulder's angry, nobody's happy. And
Yep.
so we're just going to add to the chaos and see what we can do. And pissed off wizards are almost as scary as 8.5-foot tall ogres. Or orcs.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah,
Oh yeah, I
okay.
think Azaki kind of like you kind of notice like a little like change to her robes. They go from like kind of like just casual to a lot more like formal and like business. Her staff appears and she's like, cuz she's kind of ticked off at this point, like the whole trip to the inn. She kind of worked herself up, like, what the
Oh yeah, you were thinking about it the whole time, just simmering, getting angrier and angrier. Yeah.
So she's here and she's ready to take names. So
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Bob, I think, leads the way this time.
Okay.
Because we're in the Allard spaces, so people are less likely
Yeah.
to stop
and-
us if they see Bob.
yeah, and so one thing too with Azaki is that typically she's a really like just good-natured person. So if you've ever seen somebody who you like know is just kind of like calm and collected, and they get upset, and it's almost like scarier because they're like calm and ticked off. That's her attitude. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, proceed.
Yep. So yeah, Bob goes through out of Shiv's office, and I use my great powers of perception to follow the very loud voice of a very pissed off orc.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna tell you now. You don't even have to make a roll, because upon exiting the office, it's sort of right across the hall from the conference room, and you notice that the door is partially broken. And the sound is definitely coming from there.
Ah, good, yeah. Bob makes his way towards the door, and as he gets close, Mage Hand opens it briskly.
Yeah, and I think as you get close, you just hear the massive just roar of him just saying,
You have betrayed everything this family stands for, old man.
and he's sort of the hand reaches over, and there's normally a handle there. It looks like about half the door was torn off. If you had to guess, it's by a man-sized warhammer. And
Yeah,
the door
probably.
just sort of like pushes the top half of the door open slowly, and you don't really hear any change in reaction from inside. It's sort of just the continued roaring of the voice, which I'm not going to continue to imitate for the safety of everyone's ears and my voice.
Thank you.
Yeah, Bob,
That was good acting, though. That was good.
Bob steps through and tries to get a quick read on what the hell happened.
Yeah, so you see Boulder standing sort of mostly on his side of the table, but just standing up and leaning over towards the other side of the table, screaming in Shiv's face. And he is sitting at the other side of the table, tense and not happy, but not necessarily as angry. And the Outlord is sort of leaning forward with his burly arm, trying to, as much as he possibly can, as big of a man as the Outlord is, it's still a challenge, or would be a challenge for anyone, to attempt to hold back Boulder when pissed. And he's just sort of just grabbing onto his chest and trying to push him back, saying, hey, Boulder, Boulder, Boulder.
And I think Bob walks in and, like, cloak flapping, like, everything, like, make sure to catch the Allard's eye as the two wizards come into the room.
Yeah.
You done messed up.
Yeah, and just says, Boulder, Boulder, we have more company now. Well, it's just,
I don't care!
And I think at that moment, Azaki's going to kind of sweep forward again, and I am going to use Hypnotic Gaze again just to kind of calm him down so we can talk to the Allard.
This is gonna go well.
let's see here. You can't use this feature on that
him.
creature again until you finish a long rest. Wow, okay, that's...
Is there a role for brace for impact? Is that a thing?
Let me make a roll for Boulder here. Let's see here. This is wisdom, so...
I don't know if I can even use it on him.
Let's see here. On subsequent turns, yes, here. Let's see here. Yeah, you can use it. Yeah. So, yeah, if you want to go ahead and use it, I'll make him roll for the save.
I'm kind of scared, but I'm also kind of curious, so, you know, let's see.
The spell states, or be charmed by you until the end of your next turn. The charmed creature's speed drops to 0, and the creature is incapacitated and visibly dazed. I actually didn't read that before, so the guy would have literally just sat there going...
Oh, you just shut him off. You don't, like...
Yeah,
you don't
we're
get
not going to
control
do
of him.
that. We're not going to do that, but I think we are going to try to just kind of, like, no, actually, you know what? We're not going to. I've changed my mind.
Okay.
So Bob, I guess, looks to you and then steps forward. He's, calmly, but in that, like, calm, angry walk.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of towards Shiv.
And he's just sitting there, still tense, arms folded and just sort of gripping onto his sides, and just looks up at you coldly.
Bob looks to Shiv, and then looks at Boulder.
Yeah. And,
Boulder, if I may have a moment.
I think that Boulder's immediate reaction is,
This is a family matter, not for you, wizard!
and the Allard just finally snaps his,
Boulder, sit!
and Boulder just snaps to him, stops for a moment, and there's just a tense silence in the room for just a moment, and he slowly backs away. You notice that there are 2 giant orc fist prints in the table now. And he slowly leans back, and he just, instead of sitting, he kicks the chair to the side and leans up against the wall.
Bob kind of, like, lets all this happen, gives the room a second to, like, simmer slightly, and then looks at the Allard. If you would care to explain why you've sold terrain surrounding, including some belonging to a very powerful wizard, I would very much like to hear it.
And
I think, yeah, Azaki just fixed him, like, with a cold gaze, like, yeah, that's me. Like, and Bob, we're ticked.
yeah, and the Allard just says, I wish that I could explain this myself. However, this was not done under my orders. This
Excuse me?
This was the doing of Mr. Shiv, who is just in
And
the
Azaki's
process.
gaze just flexed.
And he was just beginning to explain his reason
behind this.
He better
Weren't
have
you,
a very
Mr.
good
Shiv?
reason.
Shiv just looks
I
up
think Bob, like, as he kind of turns, the Allard can't see it, but the hand closest to Shiv, there's a hissing noise kind of as underneath of it. And Bob just, like, looks at him and raises an eyebrow.
Yeah.
Oh, were you?
And
Shivs just looks up at you. A distinct lack of fear in his
Yep.
eyes, and says, "There's no need for that. Trust me, I have good reason."
Oh, I'd love to hear it.
Just
Message.
glances.
Hold on. This is important.
Okay.
Nope, don't have a message. Damn it, I was going to ask.
Okay.
Wizard if he's capable of just ripping his mind apart, because that would be the fastest way to solve this problem.
And he just says, turns to the Allard and says, I don't think that I've been able to been able to keep you up to date with every single thing that I've been doing for the past while, and that's fine. You've trusted me with good reason. And this is a situation where I need you to trust me again. For one, the family is running extremely low on funds. Allard just sort of leans back for a moment. He says, "Oh, this doesn't surprise me. How bad?" As in, after about another 2 weeks, we'll probably have no funds whatsoever. Period. And he says, I was trying to get into contact with some of the bankers down south and seeing what sort of assets that we could liquidate to get more cash, but there simply nothing was working. So, it just so happened that through a stroke of relatively good fortune, the Centenzios came to me with a very, very good offer. That section of territory does not bring us in a lot of revenue, and frankly, that section of territory has also been some of the most troublesome in the past. I figure that for a price that good, we can eventually buy it back later. Just sort of leans back and says, I understand that you all aren't happy with me. That's fine. Just know that I'm acting in the way that I know best, in the interests of the family.
Just interjecting quick. Don't we have a bag full of like platinum?
I have a bag full of platinum.
You could give it to them.
Let's
in
clarify this
exchange.
real quick.
So.
But
Is it. Quick. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Q.
no, you're good. Is that on the table for
Nope.
for negotiations? Okay.
So my question, okay, so I know this is just a technical question. So is insight like for like if he's being honest, or is that actually, you know what, Arcana, to see if there is like, because whenever we were with the Cutters, we were able to see, or like not see, but perceive that there was something off about them, correct?
Well, considering that the fact
no?
that they were all sort of like leaned back in their chairs in a
Well,
rapture pose,
yeah.
yes.
Okay, maybe it wasn't whenever we were. Was it at the? I can't remember if it was at the bar. But okay, anyway, it doesn't matter. To just kind of it is. Yeah.
Basically, you want to see if there's any sort of wizardry bullcrap that's going on.
Yeah. Yeah. Basically. Thank you. That would be my words. Yes.
Okay. All right. Yeah. In that case,
What would I?
yeah, you could make an Arcana check to just sort of like look and investigate closely and see if you can spot anything.
Okay, because I would like to do that. That wasn't the best.
No, not that you can see. The main
Yeah.
things that you can see is that it's just a lot of very angry people right now. in the room.
Yeah, yep, that would be it.
So, Bob, I think, is taking a moment now to kind of think about the situation.
And I think that in this moment, the Allard says, I see. And why did you decide to do this without asking for my approval first? And he just replies, it was a limited time offer. They were going to
Those are never worth it.
They were going to go to the Cutters next and try to get some of their territory towards
But
the
wait.
north side of the town.
Call now.
We already told the Allard that we... No, we haven't told the Allard we fixed the whole Cutter situation yet, have we?
No, you haven't.
I think when he says that, Bob goes, funny thing about the Cutters.
The Allard just sort of turns. Says, yes, that's what you all were off doing. I'll ask for a full mission debrief, but later. But is there something relevant to this?
Whatever was making the Cutters act weird has been dealt with in that case, but I think we may be seeing something similar from the Centenzios now. Do we have contacts?
And
I think when Bob says this, he pointedly looks at Shiv.
Yeah. And Shiv just says, yes. Well, I mean, obviously I was in contact with them for the purchase. They told me that they would be taking care of everything and that I shouldn't need to contact them, but I suppose that I can attempt to get a hold of them somehow.
I think that would be wise.
Yeah, she says that, and Bob leans down and goes, like, kind of leans real close to Shiv. Not, like, there's no acid on the hand now. That would probably be for the best. And avoid, like, so low that only Shiv and Bob can hear it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's different kinds of wizards, including ones that fuck with the mind. And then Bob just, like, stands up. I'll prepare the full report for you once this issue gets... Well, you have fun with this issue. And Bob bows, turns, and begins to walk out.
And the Allard says, actually, I would like you to return as soon as possible with the rest of your team. We have other matters to discuss, and we might need their assistance with the group downstairs. Boulder turns and looks to the giant, very pissed man still leaning against the wall. Go see, and if you can start to handle the situation downstairs, we'll be sending for backup shortly. And Boulder just grunts and goes,
before or after I crush the traitor's head?
Allard just says, that won't be happening. Don't use your hammer unless absolutely necessary. Remember, these people, no matter what the contracts say, are still our people. We still care for them. And they have good reason to be angry. Let them be angry. Safely. Boulder just slowly nods, grabs his hammer, and sort of doesn't lift it. He just sort of lets it drag across the ground. And it's just this ominous scraping sound of the metal going across the wooden floor. And he finally hefts it up at the door and starts trudging down the stairs. And Aaron says, "Oh, go back, retrieve the rest of your team, and return here. Hopefully the situation will be resolved. If not, help with it, and then I would like an immediate mission debriefing, and I have some more information for you all." Shiv?
Bob
Don't
Bob
go
bows,
anywhere.
and then...
But I think before like they turn and leave, Azaki just kind of makes like a pointed look at the Allard and is like, I greatly respect what you said to Boulder about the people, because yes, they are angry, and I am one of those people. So hopefully this situation can be resolved quickly, and you will have my help with whatever, unless I don't want to get in between anything, Allard. I don't, but it just seems wrong.
And he just nods slowly, and says, "Indeed. Go. Return. Quickly."
And she just kind of gives him like one final look, a curt nod.
Yeah. And I think he just sort of, you sort of swing the broken piece of door back closed, and we see the Allard's large figure slump forward and dig his hands into his beard a bit and turn and look to Shiv as we sort of fade over to the next scene.
Yeah, I think Bob making use of glorious portal technology diagonal wipes and gathers the party as fast as possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think at this point, is everybody else sort of naturally gathered at the inn?
I followed the big crowd of people, hoping that.
Oh!
He's downstairs.
Then we'll come
That's even
back
better.
to
I saw Nightmare
That's even
following
better.
the big crowd of people, and I followed Nightmare
Okay, this
because
is
I
Oh
don't
my
trust
God.
how Nightmare's going to
recipe
handle
for
the situation.
Exclusively success. Yes. Okay.
Basically, I'm scared as to what Nightmare's going to do in the crowd.
Okay. And
And with
Frost
Boulder.
/ Druk?
I think Frost went back to her room to like just get ready even more for the day, not thinking there would be a crowd stampeding outside her window. Sure, she looked out and saw Nightmare and Fluffy. Just
Yeah, you probably saw us go.
kind of not like swimming in the crowd, but like their two heads kind of just like, you know, significantly.
You mean the giant monster and the one-horned freak? We stick out a little bit?
Just like
There's a gap
Nah.
around us.
Yeah, people
Right.
just part in the
I
way.
just see them sticking out, and I'm like, oh, nuts. And she's just not gonna even mess with it at this point. She's gonna wait till Bob gets back to
Okay.
leave. So yeah.
Yeah, so I think that Bob and Azaki, you return through the door, and the figure of Tim is sitting there waiting with his arms folded, saying, "Hey, Bob, you hear from the Allards?
I am
You hear about this bullshit?"
working on it. You know anything?
Nope, I just know that there's already some people around here trying to gather up signatures for some petition, trying to get the change made, change reversed. Think they're in the main room now, talking to the orc.
Bob steps out from the back room.
Yeah, and sure enough, there's a couple of what appears to be working class citizens, a couple of halflings standing behind the bar, talking to Druk, and Druk just says,
So, the Sentenzios bought some streets, and you all don't like this?
and they're just sort of jabbering on and just saying, "No, of course not. This is our home. This is everything that we've built for, and we've been trusted the Allards for these decades and decades to make sure that our territory stays safe. And now they're coming in here and trying to double the amount that we pay for our territory." And they're just sort of jabbering on. And Druk's just sort of sitting there, slowly nodding, attempting to process all of the information that's being thrust into his head.
Yeah. So is Tim's Inn? It's kind of regarded as like neutral space a little bit, isn't it? Because mostly it's just they don't fuck with this zone because Tim and individuals like him.
I mean,
Like the Allards, it technically belongs to the Allards, right?
yeah, it's definitely within Allard territory. I think that it definitely has been a meeting place for a couple of other...
Right, because it's basically like a truck stop off a highway, right? Like, yeah, the Allards technically own it, but
Yeah, it's not
Traffic
super
through here
far
is too
into
much.
Allard territory,
Yeah.
so yeah, no, it's more neutral.
yeah, I think so. Bob steps forward, kind of. Now, gentlemen, how can I help you?
And they're just saying,
We're trying to collect signatures to get this absolute travesty of a change reversed and get our property back to the Allards, and trying to make sure that our voices are heard by the Allard. You work closely with him. Surely if you take this directly to him, then you'll be able to have some sway with him, won't you?
Now, I got one really important question for you. Why the fuck are you doing this on my property?
Well, this is a hub for all sorts of people, and this is in our territory after all. This is where we can make sure to make sure that everyone is in on this. We have people going all throughout our territory, making sure that we get people to behind our cause and make sure that we unify and make sure that everyone knows that this change, the people, is not for the people. It's not our will.
Yeah, but you see, the problem with this is, if you doing this pisses off either the Allards, which I give you probably won't happen, or the Sentenzios, which may very well happen, and they could probably trace you all back to my inn, which results in property damage, which somebody's gonna have to pay for.
A small price to pay for liberty.
Bob leans down towards them.
Pain.
So as Bob leans down, like, there's obvious magical shit happening around the inn, right? Now, if you could be so kind as to leave your names here so I come called if such thing happens. And just, like, raises an eyebrow.
The two of them just sort of look at each other, and one of them just slaps a copy of the petition onto the table and just says, "Fine, well, if you don't want to support the democracy of the people, then we shall look elsewhere. Have a good day, sir." They all
Good
just
day,
sort of
gentlemen.
scatter out.
Best of luck with your papers.
And Druk just sort of looks at the paper and just says,
No, those men, they had lots of words, and they have more words on this paper. Do they mean anything?
Well, Drew, how many weapons you see on them?
I think they both had clubs.
And you met Boulder, right?
Yes.
And how much stronger than Boulder do you think those two are?
Not.
It's the end of the day, Bob looks at the paper, lifts it up, and it just lights on fire. It ain't worth much.
Oh, I see.
I
Their
think
words
Izaki
have
is
become
kind of staring.
fire because Boulder is stronger. I shall remember this.
So I think Frost comes down at this point, and she's like, "Hey, Bob, I'm sure you saw the stampede of people. What is going on?"
Go over to Allard's place. You have some magical talent. You can use the fucking portal door if you need to. Allard needs us all there right quick.
Alrighty. I'll be right on it then. Hey, Druk, you coming with?
No, you're not taking Drew.
All right. Well,
I know he's your responsibility, but things are liable to get quite a bit hairy and a little bit diplomatic. And while Druk's real good at the aggressive kind of physical diplomacy, words are a pain in the ass. Bob looks at Druk and winks.
Just as. This is fine.
Oh, Druk.
Yes.
If I was to tell you I was thinking of opening a second location, and it was going to be in a rough neighborhood, I'd be needing somebody to toss idiots out on their asses when they're acting like idiots. Would you be interested in that position?
So I would throw stupid people on their rear ends? This sounds like
Yeah.
fun.
When they get too drunk and they're causing problems.
Yes, this sounds like fun.
I'll keep that in mind.
Very good.
wow, Druk, you're becoming quite the entrepreneur.
Is that
means
like
that-
a magician?
Nah, it means you like
Yeah.
to work.
Oh, well, I like gold.
And especially when that gold comes from fighting.
Ah,
I think we all.
yes. Speaking of fighting, you want your entire section of family members together, yes?
That would be fantastic.
Yes. The red one with the horn, and the big one with the weird sword. They went that way. Last that I checked, it was down the 12th Street in the western direction, and they turned towards the south slightly.
Were they following the big group of angry people?
Yes.
Were they part of the mob?
Yes.
Oh, Jasar's taking us.
We were just there.
All right,
It appears they are going there now.
we're going the back way. We U-turn and go back to the portal. I think I'm dragging Frost with me this time.
Yep.
Sounds good. And,
Physically, if not otherwise.
so I think at this point we get a nice little transition in scene over to Fluffy and Nightmare.
Yay.
So the two of you, Nightmare, there's a good number of people. I wouldn't say like a sea of people just completely packing the streets, but and enough of a number to know that it's a group that's heading in a direction with a purpose. And yeah, what exactly are you doing? How are you going about this?
So he was, sitting at the end, enjoying himself some good breakfast soup, and then he sees a bunch of, upset people making a ruckus and head in a very specific direction, a direction in which he was sworn to protect. Well, not sworn, but hired to protect. And so he decided to investigate the only way he knows how, and that's to follow the trouble. So he got up and he started walking out, and I don't know if you said something, Fluffy, and so we're walking together, or if you're more so just trailing me or tailing me.
I'm catching up to you.
So
we'll say I just catch up close to you, and Nightmare, what are you doing?
Well, it's not every day an angry mob comes rushing over to the Allard, so figured might need to take care of some business if you catch my drift.
Well, given this is our home territory, let's try and avoid any aggressive business if possible.
Oh, well, I won't avoid it, but I won't start it if that's what you're hinting at.
That's what I mean, and maybe wait to start us or maybe wait to respond to it.
We'll just see what we find at the end of this trail of people.
All right. Well, I'm going to stick close if that's all right with you.
No, that's fine by me. See if you can figure out why they're so upset. They'll probably be less scared of you.
Well,
Yes,
they'll be
they
scared
will
of
be
you.
less scared of the giant dragon in armor with a big purple sword than, red demon spawn thing with a single horn. Yeah, no, there's a very big difference in scariness levels there. Mm-hmm.
However, a bit of intimidation may help keep the peace, I suppose.
Yes, you never know when you need a good bouncer. He's gonna give you like a nudge.
Well, again, let's try and keep violence to a minimum today, at least unless absolutely necessary. The Island has enough problems without us causing more.
We'll see what happens.
All right. I'm just going to follow behind him. And
We're carrying
the
on,
best.
following the people, the upset people.
Yeah, and as of right now, just sort of traveling through the streets, there's just sort of this sense of agitation, and they're just talking to each other, and you hear them angrily talking about the Allard and Sentenzios and money and streets and things like this, but they're keeping it lower to this point. But as you get closer, there's more and more people converging, until finally you get directly into the area of the offices. You see the office building, and there's probably a good 100 people all just packed all around the entrance, and it is almost completely blocking the street. There's traffic that's also being quite loud and angry that the crowd is there blocking this street, and the crowd is not only responding to the people who are being blocked, but also just trying to budge in and make their way in, and you hear loud, angry voices talking from inside.
So, Nightmare's going to kind of lean over to Fluffy and say, I won't be misleading with you. Oh, there's so many souls here.
And,
I really hope something breaks out.
and
We should
Fluffy's
probably get to the front.
That feel when
Fuck
Dirk
it.
is playing Earthshaker and he sees a PL with the rest of his team.
Echo Slam.
yeah, no, Fluffy's gonna edge up with him towards the front and just be muttering to him under his breath, though. I know you could quench your thirst here, but keep in mind there are many of them. Perhaps now is not the time.
Well, we both have some new toys, if I remember correctly.
Fluffy's gonna smirk and then shake his head. No, now is not the time.
Restrained.
The murder hobos are wading into the crowd of innocents. Let's go.
Yeah, and I think that as you're kind
Fireball can hit so many people right now.
oh yeah, the majority of them are within yeah. But I think that as you start to move through, a few people start to move their way around you, and you start to make way, and then Nightmare, you bump past one shorter, wealthier looking individual who looks up at you and just says, "Oi! I remember seeing you on the poster down south. You're the terrorizer of the jewelry shop."
And he's just gonna snap his eyes
Fluffy's-
at you, and then he's gonna look him like bend over, look him dead in the eyes, and say, "I'll terrorize you if you don't shut up right now."
And Fluffy's gonna like just get in between the two of them, pushing Nightmare back
Oh, that's great.
and pushing back the shop. Well, he's not gonna push Nightmare. He's gonna get between him and push the shopkeeper away from Nightmare for his own.
This isn't the
safety.
shopkeeper. This is somebody
Or the-
else who
whatever,
just
the
saw,
rich person.
the wanted posters that were posted the
Yes.
majority of the
Okay.
area south of,
I'm pushing that person away
Okay.
from Nightmare.
Here to, referred to as the dumbass.
Looking at him sternly and just going, "Sir, if you know what is good for you, you will shut your mouth and walk away this instant."
All right, so I am going to need an intimidation roll from Nightmare.
I thought you were gonna
and
say
it sounds
initiative.
like this is an advantage thanks to Fluffy.
Yay!
Oh
my gosh!
brother! Oh, that is a 1 and a
okay.
2.
It's okay, I got hope for us here.
I mean, you already
Have
helped.
help.
Yeah, you already helped.
No, I know.
Yeah,
But if he doesn't
point.
respond to this, I can try to persuade him.
Yeah, and he just looks up at you and just snarls and
This
says,
is my moment.
this is just another example of the Allards going down the shitter.
And so Fluffy's gonna just lean in close to where Nightmare can't hear what he's saying to the guy. Sir, you have to understand, my friend here is a little
Retard.
challenged.
It's you'll be
It
challenged
really-
for your heads if we don't get an explanation for all this. And
You know, I propose you-
the sounds of the crowd around you start to rise in volume.
I propose you take that up with the Allard and we will be on our way.
That's what we're here to do.
Can I make a persuasion check to try and persuade him to walk away?
I'm just gonna
You
start
can
laughing.
most certainly try.
Oh no.
Ooh, okay.
Bob and Izaki shop, everything is ablaze.
And now I'm on fucking fire.
No, I think that he just glares up at you and just says, "Yes, you're big and tough right now, but there's plenty of us. We'll have our way." Just snarling and still looking forward towards the door, but is not actively agitating like you or anyone else around him.
Okay. We'll take that, I guess. I was about ready to sick Nightmare on him. Fluffy's gonna spit at him and then walk on.
And I'm just gonna say, "If only you were worth my time." And then he's gonna go back.
Nightmare is a straight savage.
And I think that a few of the crowd around him starts to rise in volume again. At this point, it is most definitely a roar. There are multiple people around that are... you have not helped in de-escalating the situation.
Yes, antagonize the crowd.
If that was your
Were we supposed to
objective, you have
de-escalate?
accomplished it.
I don't
Is this
do
gonna be a fist
de-escalation.
fight in the middle of the town square?
Oh, there won't be fists.
I mean, I could use my fists.
Yeah, you definitely notice that the majority of people have some sort of instrument of hitting. There's quite a few clubs. There's a couple of pitchforks as well.
Question.
Yes.
With a, I don't know, 20-foot by 20-foot square of stone, and you toss a fireball into that, what happens? Does it make like a big kiln?
I was gonna say, I believe that is what is known as an oven in most places.
Ah, okay.
I think it's in this case a crematorium.
Yes, that's also accurate.
Campfire.
Also,
That's what it
gas
sounds
chamber.
like.
No, this is a legitimate bonfire.
That's a trash fire at this point.
Look, if you burn the bodies hot enough, there's no evidence.
Yeah, and so
not
I think
wrong.
that by this
They're
point
not paying
you.
taxes to us anymore.
I think that Nightmare, you and Fluffy sort of are able to squeeze your way into the door, and you see that the lobby and the sort of rooms nearby are also completely full of people. The neat furniture and everything that had been nicely organized has been ripped or knocked over or broken, and there are people like standing on the broken remains of chairs and couch, and are all still very angrily yelling, and you see poor Steve sitting behind the desk with a couple of Allard thugs sitting right next to him, and he's just saying, "Sirs, would you please? I'm trying to answer your questions, but I just can't. I can't answer all of you. Gentlemen, hello." He just sort of waves at the two of you as you come in the door. "Please help."
Can I see a space next to him?
I think that the two guards are pressed fairly close, but for the purposes of Misty Step, because I'm assuming that's what this is, I think yes.
All right. So I'm going to
thanks.
Misty step over to the crowd where
Well, I mean,
Hey.
he's sort of like barricaded behind his desk. Like he's behind his desk, and he has like two guards that are sort of like pushing the crowd back.
but he's like the front of the crowd, like facing them.
Yeah,
They're
he's
looking
pressed
at
up against
him.
the back wall.
So I'll Misty step. On
How far away is this?
It's probably like 20 feet from the front door to the desk where he is.
So can I Misty step on top of the desk then?
Okay, I'd like to do something as he's landing from his Misty Step. We'll wait until that happens.
You're this close to having me say the magic words.
Go for it.
No, it starts with an I and ends with an initiative.
Oh, I thought you were saying you can certainly try.
Well, in that case, maybe I should thunder step over by Nightmare.
Okay.
That would hurt a lot
Like I
of
said,
people.
everybody should stop his eye
So-
show. Everything is on fire.
No, I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah, so, yeah, I think that there's probably just barely enough room. Yeah, you could, I think that you would have to do it crouched, otherwise your head would end up being in the ceiling.
I mean, that's okay.
Just no clip through the ceiling. Get Skyrim.
Okay, alright, we'll say you crouched for the
Okay.
sake of ease.
All right.
Because, yeah, I don't wanna have to deal with the implications of that.
Okay. So as he's landing from Misty Step,
Well, I don't land. I fade into the ground.
okay, as
and
he
appear
fades
out of
into
the ground.
existence from Misty Step, though, I am going to make. I'm going to use thaumaturgy to make an instantaneous sound of thunder from the point where Nightmare appears.
Ooh.
Yay! Yes, we're working together.
That sounds pretty good.
Alright, nice. So, I think we just sort of get the scene of from the crowd's perspective, and suddenly just Nightmare. Describe what your Misty Step looks like again.
So he kind of just like there's this like wispy darkness as he like his body almost, it looks like it just gets sucked up into the ground, but there's no like mouth or anything. It's just this kind of wispy trails that just shoot off into
Can you make
the...
a slurping noise?
No, there's no slurping noise. It's kind of, if anything, it'd be like a and then as it like fades to the ground, and then he just like materializes out of the wisp, like he just like think Scorpion from Mortal Kombat, kind of just like
Nice.
like it's almost like a teleport
Nice.
Does it look
flame
pixelated?
thing,
Sorry.
but there's no flames. It's just darkness.
Yeah, and so you just materialize on the desk, and there's just a rumbling and a crack of thunder as you appear. And yeah, go ahead and if you would be so kind, again,
yes.
Nightmare.
Sexy Thor instead of Fat Thor.
Roll for intimidation at advantage again.
This is Steve, right? That was talking.
Yes, that is this poor Steve who is not having a good time.
All right, come on. This time it's. Thank goodness.
Oh, that's a 19. Very nice.
All right.
Yeah.
He's just gonna, as he materializes, he's just gonna stare at the crowd and say, "You heard the man. Calm yourself if you wish to have your wishes responded to."
Yeah, and I think with just the boom, and everybody just there's sort of a gasp of shock and surprise and fear, and everyone jumps back, and the murmur slowly fades from the front to the back as everyone starts to realize what happened, and it suddenly becomes much, much quieter. There's still sort of a murmur through the rest of the crowd, but it's mostly still coming from the back, as just about everybody that's in the building is just sitting there wide-eyed looking at this gigantic being that just thunderclapped in front of them.
Gotta get that booty clap.
Yeah, and I think that it's about at this point that you hear the thunderous footsteps of boom, 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 as you hear the fully plate armored sounds of Boulder's footsteps coming down the stairs, and just sort of looks out across the crowd and steps next to the desk, looks at you. You notice that he's only slightly below eye level for you, despite you standing on top of the desk. And just says,
Good work, Nightmare.
Thank you.
And he just has his hammer hoisted on his shoulder, and he raises it up, and the whole crowd just sort of gasps for a moment. And he just, like, winds it back up and slams it down on the floor and roars, "Out!" And with that, there's just a screech of panic as the splinters fly from the section of floorboard that he just crushed, and everyone just scatters from outside, and you hear the door slam as the last person gets out from the main entryway, and you just see everyone still sort of outside, but way back from the door, and the angry orc man.
Like, all the way.
Yeah. And I think that Azaki and Bob, you come back in and like through the door, and you just hear this massive thunderclap from downstairs, then a pause for a few seconds, and then the sounds of an impact, some wood splintering, and Boulder yelling out, and then a bunch of people scrambling and screaming.
Oh, that can't be good.
Well, that doesn't sound like death, so that's a plus.
That is true. That is very, very true.
Okay.
So I think we're gonna make our way back down there.
Yep,
To grab Jackass A, Jackass B, and go meet the outlaw.
Yeah, and so I think that we find the rest of you sort of staring down and looking at the giant chunk of floor that has been completely broken, and you see a couple of other Allard members looking up through the floor, and just kind of peering up, saying, "Oh, see, you got rid of them. Good job, lads." Boulder just sort of looks down, grunts, and as the three of you walk down the stairs, says,
Good. Crowd gone.
Do you think Bob kind of tips his hat? Thank you, Boulder. And then Bob looks at the miscreants. You, Allard wants to talk. I've got a job.
Hopefully with some bloodshed. I'm tingling after that.
I think Bob gets a very odd look on his face. I'm just gonna roll by that.
Fluffy's just gonna shake his head.
Probably for the best.
And then as you catch up with like we're like coagulating towards the door.
I don't think
I-
That's
I don't
not
think
the
that's
word you want.
here.
You
That
want
is not.
Okay, whatever. Anyway, so as we're getting to the door, Nightmare's going to, as like Fluffy gets close to him, he's gonna be like, "Nice touch. Can you do more?"
Fluffy just gonna grin and be like, I thought it would work. I can manifest small signs and wonders when I desire.
I felt like that gave the intimidation a bit more of a advantage.
I swear.
Oh my gosh.
And Fluffy just go, whatever do you mean?
Well, it's almost
Derek,
as though
I have so many things that I can throw at you right now.
No, let him go.
Choose
Let
your
him go.
words
Let him
wisely.
go.
it's almost as
Let him
if
go. Ah.
they listened better than they would have just by myself.
Ah, yes. I found a little shock and awe go a long way, especially with the simple-minded.
We'll have to remember this for future encounters.
Always happy to help you, Nightmare, especially when it means we avoid making the Allard mad at us.
We have been doing that quite a bunch lately, haven't we?
Yes, we
What?
have.
No,
And usually because of you.
I'm not saying it's usually your fault,
But it's really your
but it's really mostly kind of always your fault, actually.
All right, and then I'm just gonna.
That keeps it
continue on.
interesting.
Yeah.
Gotta keep it interesting.
And yeah, so you guys make your way back to the conference room.
Yep.
Yep.
Moving right along. Check.
Yeah. So yeah, a lot of you move back towards the door, and the rest of you get notice the fact that the door is much less door and much more hanging piece of wood at this point.
This point, we walk in and it just falls. You like open the door, it just falls off the hinge. Like, it's just.
The
Well,
the
that might
Allard
quite
is
be
still just leaning over his desk, nervously stroking his beard, and just glances up at it, just as, well. Fortunately, I know some woodworking. I can replace that when I have time. I crack myself up.
Bob like looks at him like deadpan, and then motions to the idiots behind him.
This is good. And thank you for using more noise to make there be no noise downstairs. That's the way I interpreted what happened.
Always a
Bob just-
pleasure.
Bob just goes, "Nobody died."
Sadly.
The Elder just looks
I
and
think
says,
yeah, we all
Wait.
just stare.
Nightmare was involved, and no one died.
Fluffy just
I
got
know,
time
I
in here.
know, but yes.
This is the
Well,
second
I do-
time, actually, from what I understand.
I'm on a streak.
and he sort of looks at you like genuinely, like there's almost
Concerned.
a bit of a
No,
smile,
concerned.
honestly. And he just says,
Are you
"Oh."
feeling okay? Are you sick?
He says, well,
Is something wrong?
I don't know whether I should be concerned, but right now I'm just quite happy that this is the case. Thank you, Nightmare.
I'm not, but it is what you requested.
Well, when you do what I request, it makes me happy.
That's good.
Fine. To business. First, report on what happened with the cutters.
Bob
Everyone's
goes,
just gonna look at Bob.
Bob
Yeah, basically.
preps himself, begins to say the word illithid, stops.
I
Do
nearly
you
died.
know what a mind flayer is? We're gonna start there.
He just says, this would normally be where I would ask Shiv, but we'll get to him in a moment.
Okay. We're on it's on the coast here, right?
Tajir, yes.
Okay, yeah, so he goes, you know what an octopus looks like?
Yes. Eaten a few.
Yeah. Replace a man's head with that,
Ugh.
and then make it smarter than your average human, be able to cast spells, and have a penchant for eating brains. Following?
Sounds like something that my mother told me about to try to make sure that I stayed in bed.
Bob just like nods his head very briskly. Exactly. And they also have a tendency to serve beings of chaos, which we already know we're kind of dealing with. And that one was entrancing the Cutter's leadership. It has been, and Bob like pointedly looks at Nightmare, dealt with. The Cutters are currently reestablishing the power within their own house, but they are very much aware of who they owe that debt to.
Good.
We also discovered another plane of existence, but I don't think that really falls within your purview.
He just sort of stares at you for a moment, blinks a couple times, and says,
You know, most days I think that this would have been the most surprising thing I've ever heard. But today is one hell of a day.
I believe that mostly covers it. Oh wait, there was the what? The snake, spider, lizard, what's it? That I'd have no fucking clue what they are.
You know, as long as we don't have to deal with them here above ground, and we have enough forces to keep them at bay below ground, that's all I care about.
So Bob goes, they weren't below ground. They were in the dimension that we're not talking about. And you'll know them if you see them. They don't exactly blend in.
That's an understatement.
So essentially,
I blend just
you
fine.
found another place with a lot more terrifying creatures, similar to the ones that have been in our catacombs. You killed some of them, and that freed the Cutters from some sort of magical influence.
Yes, and they're aware of who saved them.
Good. We'll have to...
Meaning the Allards in general, not just us.
Good. Good. I'll have to be in touch with them before too long. However,
Me as well.
in terms of being in touch, I believe that you are all
Bob makes
familiar-
grabby hands in the background.
I believe you all are familiar with the current situation that we have regarding the Sentenzios.
Bob waits.
And, yeah.
I don't know anything.
Yeah. He says, well, essentially, a significant portion of our territory, we've come to find out this morning, has been transferred for a substantial sum to the Sentenzios. However, this section of territory is on the other side of the Commercio Road, and again, is not insignificant in size. The most
And it
important
wasn't
thing-
one of the ones I hired, was it? This?
No.
Okay,
No.
good. Because
This was the doing of Mr. Shiv.
now, just for clarification, are you behind this, or
No. I
Okay,
had
just-
absolutely no idea that this was happening. This
Shall
was
I get-
something...
some papers in order?
You
or...
could just wait for him to explain everything, and then we can ask questions.
Frost! Zip it.
I'm gonna cast
Dude,
Fireball
come
at Frost.
You know the thing that they usually have in presentations where they say, please hold your questions to the end? We're doing that.
Poor Frost, we were just trying to roleplay.
Normally, like, Azaki is pretty good with, like, just, like, the times she has interacted with Frost, she's been pleasant, but, like, she's just like, shut up. Like, let him
Hey,
finish. Like,
This is just Frost getting some role-playing points, whatever those are.
it's
kind of like that advantage thing Nightmare talked about.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Some atheist thing, or not atheist, amorphous thing.
Some atheist thing. God damn it.
I wanted amorphous.
Is it
but
some atheist coagulation?
That's the name of my punk rock band, actually.
I like it.
Here, you get a cookie for
Oh,
that
that's
one.
funny.
Ooh,
Oh.
I was gonna get some breakfast, but I got a cookie.
I want it.
And now you're turning him. Congratulations.
He's been doing this all season. Have you not picked
I
up
know.
on this?
It's great.
Yo, I take bribes. I love bribes.
He does take bribes.
He's even aware of it. It's great.
No,
I mean,
no,
that's
he's
the best
aware of
kind
it.
person to bribe. They know they're taking bribes. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Oh,
bribes.
shoot.
If they don't know they're taking bribes and they're just a stooge, that's no fun.
Yeah. And so he continues. This was done without any knowledge from me. And that's the unusual part about this. Is that, honestly, to put it bluntly, if he had come to me and proposed the idea, I possibly could have worked something out with him. Not to this extent, not in this way, and not this quickly. But this could have been an idea that I might have been able to consider. And the two of us have known each other, well, frankly, as long as I've been alive. So he should know this. He still went behind my back. Something is off. So, what I've done is I've told him that he is to go himself and get into contact with the Sentenzios. Now, what I want you all to do is track him down and see what exactly is going on. Without his knowledge.
Bob, like, cringes slightly.
Where is that nightmare?
If Frost could get
Fluffy
him
just stares at his
he would
feet and
have one.
shuffles, recalling his previous attempts at stealth.
Bob's feet shuffle slightly, remembering Nightmare's
Oh my
previous
gosh.
attempts at stealth.
Frost's excitement is palpable. Look at 9 in stealth.
No.
Oh
Alan,
no. Oh no.
I must ask. In the case this turns sour, would you like Shiv preserved?
Preserve
Or-
Shiv as best you can.
Very well.
Now we're killing
Ah.
that slimy old
And
boy.
do be
As
careful.
best as can.
Do be careful if you go into Sentenzio territory. While their forces aren't necessarily the most ruthless, they are by far the most numerous. You can
Ooh,
get swarmed
fireball.
very,
That's what I was thinking.
very
Token creatures are weak versus AoE.
And before they have the two wizards in the back counterspelling everything we throw.
Well, the trick is you
Ninja
just throw
Force
shit
spell does matter.
high enough level that they can't counterspell it.
I'd like to cast a level 12 fireball, please.
What's a lawn going to do? To mow the lawn.
I believe
I would
that
say
a
we
level
could just-
12 fireball would most likely just destroy existence.
The spell you're looking for there, I think it could be Volcano.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
literally just call a volcano in the middle of town.
Wow. Krakatoa. Or
You will seriously regret fucking with me. Boom. Oh, well, there goes your territory. Have a fun time. Bye.
Shoot.
Oh.
Now geothermal. Oh god.
Yeah. Anyway, so he says this. It just says this could also prove to. I think that you all are aware at this point. Serve to figure out exactly the motivations behind the Sentenzios. If I had to guess, there's more going on than just Shiv trying to raise additional funds. I want you to figure out what exactly that is.
Coo.
And do your best not to cause any more violence. We're having enough of that on our home territory right now as it is.
Big sigh.
I think.
Everybody
Bob,
looks
like,
again at Nightmare.
I think everybody, like the party, looks at Nightmare,
No violent stealth mission. This is not my forte.
and then we all kind of like. I think we all probably make eye contact with one another, and there's that like sinking feeling in everybody's stomachs.
And I think that the Allard observes this and says,
Is there a problem?
Well, you see,
And
I
Bob
do
just,
have
like,
disadvantage.
points at Nightmare and raises an eyebrow.
Not the most stealthy attire.
Mm-hmm. This is my problem. Why?
Well, we'll get back to it.
So,
With or
Top
without
10
shit.
rappers Emmett was too afraid to diss.
then Bob goes for a moment, thinks, and then looks at the Allard and goes, in the worst possible situation,
I don't like where this is going.
what's a rough estimate of bodies they could put on the street in short order?
I will put it to you this way. The Sentenzio's main complex is said to have a force that is capable of taking on and defending against an entire onslaught a couple of hundred years ago, against an onslaught from the Commercio Company's entire forces in the city.
Then it is an even fight.
He just
Bob's
looks
like-
and says, Nightmare,
Oh no.
you're a killing machine. They would overwhelm you.
Well, I would like to see them try.
I wouldn't.
And then Bob, like, kind of
That
under his breath, but loud enough that the Allard probably can hear him. He's just like, yeah, and the streets. I'd hate to clean that mess up.
Just says,
It's like the image of bodies stacked like 4 high.
Just blood in the drains.
We would, that part of the city would literally repaint itself. Like,
Paint the town red.
can you imagine like how many, like, I don't know, what do you think, like 3rd level goons we'd have to murder? Like, oh god.
yeah.
I mean, we'd be there a while. We may die, but
We're taking it with us.
we'll probably take a couple city blocks out with us.
Yeah. So,
Now I kind of want
Let's
to see that fight.
try.
Totally awesome battle simulator.
Yeah, it'd be like a fucking one of the old stick figure videos. Just Sparta! Just bodies.
oh gosh. And he just says, so, to just make sure we understand each other, try to follow Shiv to wherever he is meeting his Sentenzio contacts. Figure out what is going on without making yourselves known if possible, and at very least, avoiding killing anyone. Stares at Nightmare.
So even if they jump us, you want us to not kill anybody.
If they jump you, you can defend yourself, but do so in a retreating manner.
Nightmare picks his head up as if he just heard something that he wanted to hear.
Bob has a very bad feeling about all of this, but you know what? Nothing's gonna good of coming and telling the boss what we're probably ended up having to do. So, as you wish.
At
Good.
what point
Anything
do we
else?
just supplant the Allard? And Frost doesn't say this in character.
Yeah. Look, we're not gonna get rid of him, but he's probably gonna not be happy with any of us when this one's over.
I might get fired.
And he just says, the rest of you can go. Mrs. Aki, stay afterwards.
Oh,
Just briskly nods.
Then everyone else excuses themselves. I think as Bob walks past you, he again says, "Stop by for that drink sometime," and then walks out.
So Azaki, I guess as everybody walks out, Azaki just fixes the Allard with a gaze that's like, I'm listening. Like, go ahead.
He just reaches over to a small envelope. He just says, "This came for you today." And he leans over and hands this envelope to you.
Sure, I'm getting a lot of mail today. She
Got it.
and she opens it up and
Yeah, and
read.
you notice that it is, you immediately recognize the very neat, very neatly packaged envelope with the unmistakable seal of Dion's on the front.
Big D.
I
And
think whenever she kind of sees that, there's something kind of shifts in her personality. Not in her personality, but in just how she's like composed at the moment. She kind of relaxes a little bit more and reads all the more eagerly.
And the Alorn says,
I confess that I did read it not recognizing immediately who it was intended for, but trust me, I won't share what I've read with anyone.
Best you don't. Fix him with like a.
All the threats today, yeah.
he just solemnly nods, and the letter reads, My dear, it has been far too long since you have paid me a visit. Though this isn't an entirely social call, things in the north are spreading far quicker than they should be.
War up there.
I am in need
War in the
of
north?
some assistance. I'm calling you and several of my other most powerful apprentices to come and assist. As soon as you have finished your business in Tajir, please stop by as quickly as possible.
And so yeah, I think she kind of just she folds the letter up and she carefully puts it in just a pocket in her robe and just Allard and says, "Is there anything else you need from me?"
Just shakes his head and says, No, that will be all, and it sounds as though it may be all that we will be seeing of each other, at least for the time being, so Sasaki, he just stands up and extends his hand. Thank you for assisting the organization. We will be sending, I suppose that I can send payment directly to Dion's then?
If you wish, but payment is not necessary. My business is just to keep peace in the land.
Just as he finishes shaking your hand, just says, well, we most certainly appreciate it. And we appreciate you not burning everything down when your territory was acquired this morning.
Just hear
Yes,
Bob's voice
that is
inside.
that is
I heard that.
is unfortunately yes, but I think you will find that that spot will be vacated shortly. I will be leaving to go help Dion as quickly as I can. So yes, you. As much as I would love to stay in the area, I'm needed elsewhere. So thank you for your hospitality while I was staying here, and I do very much wish, Allard, that everything goes well. I really do hope that peace is restored and that things can be wrapped up here in a, she just kind of smirks a little bit, somewhat peaceful manner.
He just nods. Believe me, especially with the individuals downstairs who you and I have been dealing with, peaceful is the best thing that I can hope for. And do I ever hope for it?
Don't we all? And so with that, I think she just kind of gives him like a nod and she sweeps out the door.
Okay, and I think with the sweep out the door, we are about ready for a break. So, yeah, we take 5-10 minutes, and we will be right back.